Hi, Bowen. Sarah from the upcoming. What a pleasure to have you here with us in London. I watched the film this morning. Absolutely blew me away. But for people who haven't seen it yet, what can they expect from the Wedding Banquet?
People can expect from the Wedding Banquet 2025 laughs, tears, an ensemble dynamic, a tight script, precision in the writing, precision in the performances, a wonderful seamless blending of different cultures and different generational themes. It has something for everybody.
And obviously, it's sort of a reimagining, let's say, rather than a straight-up remake of Ang Lee's 1993 film. Were you very familiar with that? I mean, probably it's a bit before your time, but and what really excited you about the prospect of doing a contemporary version?
It was not before my time. I'm not quite as young as Keechon, but I remember seeing it in college, and it was at a time when I had a tenuous relationship with my parents in terms of my queerness. I wasn't really out to them. I didn't know how to broach the subject, and watching the film was so powerful because it explored that so deftly. It ends on an uncertain note, and I love that about that movie so much because it felt so real and grounded in something. But this new version really checks in with our collective mood around marriage now, especially for queer people. Like, just because we can do it doesn't mean we should, and how do we navigate it with an older generation who doesn't have the same sort of jadedness around marriage that we do. And so I feel like what drew me to the project was exploring all those things, working with Andrew on again, being in this amazing company of people.
And what I love about the film is that, there are so many witty moments, really laugh out loud lines, yet there's also a sincerity and earnestness in some of the more emotionally resonant ones too, and it's not in a rush. It allows those moments to breathe as much as the funny moments. Did you have a favorite line or one that really stood out to you?
My favorite line is Keechon's. It's after the second proposal. Spoiler alert, but everyone rejects him, and he sits down and says, "This is really hard on my ego." And we had to teach Keechon what the word ego meant, and we had to guide him through the literal text of the comedy, but he is such a good actor that he kind of made it funny even without understanding it. He could transcend language in that way, and that's what I love about that line in particular. But you're right, it's so funny, but so heartfelt. It balances, I think it's a 6-person ensemble. It balances all those character arcs so well in such an economy of time. It's always moving. It never feels stale. I feel like Andrew did such a good job.
And what an incredible ensemble cast to sort of bounce off. What was the atmosphere like on set, and how does Chris fit into the dynamic specifically as a character?
Yeah, the dynamic on set was just so gentle and loving, and it was a mutual care that I think is embodied in the film. It's about chosen family, and we became one by the end. Sounds cliche to say, but we really did. And the way Chris fits into it is that he doesn't know how he fits into it, Min and Angela getting married fulfills a function for Angela and Lee in terms of their in terms of their fertility journey. Chris doesn't really fit into that, right? And he's kind of edged himself out by his own volition by rejecting Min's proposal. And so it's him sort of reckoning with his own decision-making, what his value is in this relationship, in this dynamic, and it was a very interesting thing to play. I hadn't quite worked that out before, and so it was so fun.
And in terms of what people can take away, I mean, it does show kind of where society's moved on, but perhaps in areas where it hasn't really. And we are still tackling, this kind of balance of, staying true to some of the traditions that maybe our parents are expecting about the institution of marriage, but also kind of wanting to reinvent these things for ourselves. So it's both specific, but also there's some universal themes there. And different iterations of parenthood and family.
Putting a light on the conventional aspects of marriage, which are so important, but also a little bit arbitrary. And then it's really highlighting the ways that marriage binds people together, that it is this glue for families, whether it's chosen or fixed. It is still an important thing in our culture and in our society. It is a way to ceremonialize our connection to each other, our commitment to each other. And all the characters in this movie are committed. The way Andrew talks about it is that the conflict only rises out of people loving each other too hard. So it's wonderful.
And finally, what does it mean to you to have this film opening the BFI Flare? Why is a festival like this still so important? And I think one of the biggest queer cinema festivals in the world, if I'm not wrong.
One of the longest running queer cinema festivals in the world. I feel like being at BFI Flare just kind of gives me this perspective perspective as someone who works in film and someone who loves film, just that there's an international broad appeal to these things, that these are universal stories, that these could resonate with audiences in different ways around the world, but also in the same ways around the world. And so I'm so honored to be here, so thrilled, just really chuffed, as the would say. I hope audiences really find that there's a vision for the future of marriage. There's also an honoring of the past of marriage, and that's why it's important. I mean, I don't plan on getting married, but I can appreciate now that just having seen this movie, having done the movie, that it's a very interesting institution that transcends culture.